Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 10 of Passion Project, the variety show that encourages anyone in the speedrun community to showcase the projects that they've been working on. My name is Amber Cyprin. I will be your host tonight, and I encourage everyone in chat right now, if you are a speedrunner or you know someone who is and you want to showcase, maybe whatever your passion project is, whether it's your favorite game to grind, a new category or a game you've been routing out. Maybe you finished a task or a segmented run you'd like to show off, or maybe it's your randomizers, bingos, you name it, I want it. You can submit to the show using the !passion command in the chat, follow the link to my submission form, and give me your runs. Before I get started with the runs that we have planned for tonight, we do have a couple of announcements. First and foremost, Frame Fatales is Games Done Quick's all-women speedrunning online speedrunning community. The upcoming event Flame Fatales will run from August 13th to the 20th. Volunteer applications are open right now until June 17th, so go to gamesdonequick.com/Frame Fatales for more information. And if you missed out on Summer Games Summer Games Done Quick 2023, be sure to check out the VODs on youtube.com/Games Done Quick. All of our runs are now available for viewing. Go check those out if you missed anything. I missed a lot. I slept. It was a very relaxing week. Go check those runs out. And also, Juneteenth, our annual event celebrating Black independence, is coming up June 17th and 18th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Join us as we highlight the amazing talents of the Black speedrunning community. So tonight, here on Passion Project, I'm joined by the wonderful Jaxler from the Devil May Cry series. Jaxler from twitch.tv/Jaxler1, and we're taking a trip through one of the edgiest eras in gaming, 2003. We've got two really cool platformers back to back tonight, and we're kicking things off with Vexx Any Percent and rounding the show off with the Any Percent run of Whiplash a bit later on. Jaxler, thank you so much for being here with me tonight. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. I'm really excited for this. So I'm prepping all week.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I know a few people who really love Vexx. I had never heard of Whiplash until you brought it up to me, and I took a look at the game and I was like, yeah, this is a tonal fit for being paired with Vexx. Let's do it. So, I'm very excited. I want to know in chat as we go through tonight, were either of these games, your hidden gems during this kind of era of gaming where, Shadow the Hedgehog, Vexx, and, other edgy platformers were existing?
I don't know if you're asking me or chat, but
I want to know yours and chat's.
It's hard because there's this whole era was just this was still not quite, they had figured out 3D games yet, so they tried a bunch of weird stuff and tried to make it stick. You got stuff like Vexx and Whiplash, I really like the SpongeBob games from this era. There's so much cool weird stuff, and if anybody has anything to share in the chat, please send it my way so that I can play it and then probably run it, because I have a problem. Yeah. But yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and start talking a little bit. This is Vexx. This is Mario 64 at home. It's a platformer released in 2003. It plays kind of like a Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, where you need to get all of the Wraith Hearts as opposed to stars, or you need 60 of them in order to beat this game. So it's kind of a collectathon platformer if you ever played Mario or a Banjo-Kazooie. Similar kind of concept, but this is one of the most ridiculous movement toolkits I've ever seen in a speed game period, and it's just going to be an hour and a half of non-stop movement tech. So buckle up. This one's going to be a bit of a doozy. Before we get in, I just want to mention a couple of things real quick. You're going to notice I actually included a little bit of an input display in the bottom right corner of the game feed. This is just going to help me, since I'm doing this solo. This is just going to help me to explain some of the movement tech that I'm going to be doing, because it's a little input dense. And on top of that, we're going to be doing the GameCube version. This was like a lot of games in 03, this era, multi-platform release. GameCube's going to be the fastest version because of loads and because of a version-exclusive trick to this and the PS2 version that we'll see about an hour or so into the run. But I won't go into too much detail about that until we get there. But yeah, this run is a mouthful. There's going to be a lot of information coming at you fast, so apologies in advance. That's just kind of my style. But I'm good to go here. So time is going to start when we press continue without saving here. So let's get started in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck and have fun, folks.
Thank you. I will need it. This game is really hard. So there's a lot of input stuff that's going to be going on right at the start of the run. The two major movement techs you're going to see me do at the start are called extended high jumps and extended long jumps. So similar to what Mario Galaxy did, if you hold down the crouch button and then jump, you'll either get like a high jump or a long jump depending on how much momentum you have going into the input. And that's used to like jump further or jump higher. But in this game, there's a physics exploit where if you reverse the input, so if you look at the input display, you'll see me do A and then the crouch button, which is down to left trigger. And that'll actually give me an increased amount of speed and distance. And so we're going to be doing that all over the course of the run with both of our long jumps and our high jumps. So that long jump is when you kind of see him doing like the midair Naruto glide. That's the best way I can describe it because he puts his arms behind him. And then the high jumps are those somersaults that you'll see me do in midair. And the extended high jumps we're actually going to use to do a skip here called door skip. So this one's a little bit tricky, so just give me a second here. Need a lot of height here. Got the first part. Into a wall jump, cancel it into the flip kick, and there we go. That is about 10 seconds. That is really hard, so I will take it. There's a lot of... That's like a small example, but there's a lot of just nonsense like that over the course of the run where I'm just doing a bunch of weird movement nonsense. The game's generally built its levels very vertically, so there's like a lot of cool vertical platforming stuff that we get to deal with. And then we're going to be doing our first heart here, which is the water rings in Timberdale. What we're going to be doing here is hitting 3 different rings in order to spawn in the first of the Wraith Hearts here. And then we got to deal with the swimming controls here. Got to do some kind of movement where you don't really know where you're going until you get there, and so you kind of have to just believe in yourself there a little bit. And all along the way, we're going to keep doing these extended long jumps, and you're actually going to see me do an extended high jump out of the surface of the water here. Hopefully this one's a little bit tricky. Got it, barely, nice. And so essentially, out of certain animations in this game, you can buffer a short hop. And when you do that short hop, you have a window in order to perform that crouch to do the extended high jump or the extended long jump. So I do that one out of the jumping out of water animation in order to get an extended high jump, and then with the rest of my like aerial resources, I can hit the switch from below, which saves having to swim to the top and like falling all the way down. But that's the third water ring, and then we're going to extend a long jump our way into the first of our Wraith Hearts here. These Wraith Hearts are the major MacGuffin for this game, so you can think of like stars in Mario 64, for example, where we need a certain amount of them in order to unlock progressively more and more levels. We need 60 of them over the course of the run in order to beat the game. And so that's going to be our first of 60 here. And the next one we're going to get is a much faster one, but also one of the most frustrating because we have to deal with the dreaded thing in life called physics. So we have to kick this soccer ball into a goal, and it's 2003 physics, so it'll go about as well as you'd expect. What I'm going to try to do is use the hill and gravity to my advantage here, so I don't have to like chase after it all that much. There's trees here, there's enemies, and the enemies have like really good defense, so I gotta be really careful. Well, I don't have to be careful here, it's just they're annoying. Go. Something I'm also trying to do here as well is bait the enemies into attacking me by letting them get close enough to me, and then I jump over their heads. That commits them to the attack animation so that they won't be in my way. And nice, we got the animation skip. So if you get a long jump started while the ball is rolling into the goal, you can skip the cutscene of the heart spawning and just grab it immediately, which saves about 5 seconds. So that was a pretty good lineup for that. So got to show that one off. But now we're coming into a segment that there is one version of this heart in every world, and that's called Soul Jars. The best analog, if we're going back to our Mario 64 analog, or metaphor, is it's like the red coin missions, where we need 6 of each of these very limited collectible in order to spawn a Wraith Heart somewhere in the level. So our goal is to get all 6 of them as fast as possible, but route it in such a way where the last one that we get is closest to the Wraith Heart, ideally. So we're going to be doing a bunch of these extended long jumps here. These, like, the extra distance and speed that you get from all these extended jump inputs allows a lot of this movement to actually be possible. Like, if you tried to just do regular old long jumps and high jumps through this, like, you'd kind of have trouble doing it. Because it's a little hard to see because of the camera angle, but you get a lot of extra boost out of it, so. Gotta be a little careful though. If you rush the input, we'll mention this a bit later, but when you're doing like certain extended high jumps and long jumps, it'll default to either a high jump or long jump if you rush the input. And so you have to be very careful to time it, otherwise you might get like the kind of jump that you're not expecting and it can cause problems. And especially when we get into the more vertical sections, that can be really do or die here. So we're gonna do a little bit of enemy manipulation here. I'm gonna wait for him to attack, flip kick him, and then hopefully this lets me uppercut all three. We're gonna be doing this in order to build up a combo so that we can fill up our rage meter just in a couple uppercuts right there. And we'll get to see the use of that in a little bit here, but that allows us to essentially go into a enraged form, which allows some really cool movement tech to be possible here. But we got the last the Soul Jar, and that's gonna let us get the Wraith Heart right here. And so the whole route just kind of loops itself back into that heart there. And it's also convenient because that's like one of the fastest places to build up rage. All right, so this is Sky Islands. I probably shouldn't go for this strat, but it's really hype, so I'm gonna go for it anyway. This is called For the Hype. I'm gonna shut up here for a second because this is really tight. Trying to beat a cycle here.
Let's go. My favorite thing in platformers, can I beat a cycle?
We're gonna make it. Nice, let's go.
Yo.
Okay, so that makes use of a glitch tech called rage jumping and fakey fireballs, which we probably don't have too much time to go into just yet. But essentially, I mentioned earlier that certain animations let you buffer a short hop out of them, and that includes activating the rage meter as well as launching a fireball. So we use our resources there in order to essentially get double and triple jumps out of thin air, which is not intended for this game. And it's gonna let us really break the game later on, but that strat saves about 15 seconds or so, but if you miss it, you fall all the way back down to the bottom of the level, so really glad I got to show that one off. That strat's really scary. And so we're going to be climbing up our way here. So we spent a lot of rage there in order to do that strat, so I'm going to do another manipulation here to try to get these two into a combo at the same time. This just expedites the process of building the rage, and we need a full meter every time we want to do that rage jump glitch. And so this is just the most convenient time to set it back up. And this is going to take us into a mini-boss fight with the Sumo. We'll see him 2 times over the course of this run, but the basic strat is you wait for him to get close, he's going to do the belly bounce, and then you kick him in the butt, and then you repeat 2 more times. So this is a bit of a chill moment. After you get like the setup to rebuild your rage here, it's pretty chill here. So Amber, what do you think so far of this game? I don't know what you were expecting when you flip this, but I'm curious to see what your thoughts are.
The movement's legit. Like, I've heard middling things about like the casual playthrough of this game, right? Because it is basically Mario 64 at home, which doesn't mean it's bad by any means. But I know that I've heard it can overstay its welcome casually. But like the movement tech, that's one of the things I really love about platformer speedruns of this era. The movement tech, like between this, Jak and Daxter, the Ratchet and Clank games, stuff like that, it can be really, really cool to watch.
Yeah. It's so fun to do too. I would consider this game what I would call a forever game, which is kind of a term that I guess I kind of made up, which is like games that are like so deep in their movement tech that you could run it for foreseeably the rest of your life and always find places to improve at it. You know, we mentioned Mario 64. I think Mario 64 is kind of one of those games as well, where it's just the skill ceiling is so high that like you could like, if you had to one game for the rest of your life, like you could foreseeably do like that or this game, and you would be satisfied for the rest of your life. So yeah, we did a little bit of a platforming skip there with a rage jump, where we do a long jump out into the middle of thin air, and then we pop the rage, which just puts us into an animation that we can cancel into a short hop. And then I'm immediately exiting out of rage as soon as I've done the glitch, because every time you activate rage, it spends just the tiniest bit of meter, which means we can't use it again right away. So by limiting the usage as much as possible, I only need to like one tap an enemy in order to refill my rage meter. So this is Rock Suit. We picked up this upgrade like in the very first 30 seconds of the run, and I didn't really explain it all that much. This is one of the 2 transformations in the game. This one makes you invincible, and you run decently fast, but your jump is also limited, and you like sink to the bottom of water. it's going to let us break into this cage here in order to get this Wraith Heart right here. And these missions are pretty straightforward and simple. It's pretty basic movement. You can't like extended long jump or high jump while you're in this state. So it's pretty much a just point A to point B section. And then we're going to be seeing another reoccurring section called a Sundial level. These are like the secret courses from Mario Sunshine where they're hidden and they're mostly just platforming challenges. But the gimmick in this game is that the portals are only open at certain times of day, because of course this game has a day and night cycle. And so in this like tutorial example here, all we have to do is just turn it to a specific time within like the two little notches, and then it will open up the portal. And so we're going to be doing a cycle skip here where it's pretty lenient, but we're going to be using another rage jump to essentially skip a platform cycle up here. So you're going to see me long jump, pop the rage into a high jump, and then that lets us skip a platform cycle. Pretty easy strat as far as rage jumps go. And then while I'm waiting for the platforms to come back into alignment, I hit that enemy right there in order to refill my rage meter for the next segment, because I will need it for the start of Dragon Reach. So overall, pretty good. That was a sub 11 Timberdale, which is like arguably one of the hardest parts of the run is the first level, which is kind of brutal. This is the kind of game that nickels and dimes you over the course of the run, because like, oh, I dropped a extended high jump or extended long jump here. There goes a couple seconds, or I got a ledge grab. You know, it's one of those kinds of things, right? And I think another good example of that is this segment, which is Dragon Reach Shards. So this is similar to the 100 coin missions in like Mario 64, where you have to get 100 of these shard collectibles in order to spawn the Wraith Heart. And you can do these in any order that you want to. So this is the only one that we do in the any % speedrun, because this is the only one that's fast enough, or within like the 60 fastest hearts that we can possibly get. Oh, this is a little suspect. Saved it. Nice. Oh. Okay. So I intended to do a high jump there, but I committed to the long jump there. That's a skip that we can do to avoid taking a teleporter to get the wingsuit upgrade. We're going to use that in a little bit there, but that's part of the reason why we get this Wraith Heart, is because there's like 6 Wraith Shards there, and we need 100 of them, and we're going to go there anyway to grab the wingsuit, so why not just go ahead and grab the rest of the 100, you know? It's one of those kinds of routing decisions.
Yeah, where it's the might as well sort of thing that makes a lot of sense at the time. Because, like, you know, it's like it's not going to be too far off the beaten path, and you have to go through a certain part of it anyways. Might as well pick it all up.
Exactly. And this is where like the extended like long jumps really start to come into play here. I'm spacing them in certain ways where sometimes I don't go for an extended long jump immediately. I actually delay it a little bit just so Vexx can walk a little bit forward. Not even because it's faster, but just because it lines up like the next long jump in a much more favorable position for me. And then we got a decent cycle through there. That's like a global cycle that you have to worry about during this segment too, is those platforms rotating, because you want all 6 of those shards. And the faster you get there, the better that those platforms are in alignment for you to just extended a long jump your way through there. And so we do an upcut here, which for some reason spawns the heart faster. And that was a really good Dragon Reach shards. That was like a second off gold. We'll take it.
Yo.
We'll take it. We are so back. We are so back. And so now we're going to make use of the wingsuit here. So there's a couple of parts here where we're going to use a similar kind of opener where I'm going to do an extended... Oh, got it, barely. Where you do an extended long jump and then cut it off early at the peak of its height with the flip kick, which you just press B midair, and it gives you that little flip kick, like that. And so I use that all over the place to skip ledge grabs. Then right here... Oh, that's not quite what I wanted. So here, I'm going to back this up. So I'm going to hit an enemy. I did not want to use my rage there. So what I'm doing here is I'm doing an extended high jump out of this animation from the bounce. There we go. And then we're going to extended long jump, pop the rage. That's going to get us up to here. And then this takes us to the wingsuit platform right here. And then this is going to be like the only intended use of the wingsuit, I think, which is used to fly all the way over to this sort of airship looking thing and grab us this Wraith Heart. We grabbed the wingsuit because it allows us to do some really... Well, in one spot, it's a nice little movement shortcut, and then when we get all the way to, I believe, Frostplate Mill, which is second to last level, it lets us do a really funky looking strat. All right. So this is the soldier segment of this level. I'm going to be going for... we did this a little bit when we did the fast cycle for Sky Island platforms in the first level. Where I'm going to be doing something called a fakey fireball jump, which is basically taking a rage jump and then using the fireball move that you get while you're in rage to get an extra jump. Got it. Nice, nice, nice. That's really hard. So the fireball jumps have a different timing to them. And like I mentioned earlier, if you like time your inputs too fast, it'll default to a specific type of jump. And in the case of fireball jumps, they default to long jumps, which is not what you want there because you won't get the height. And so why it's specifically called a fakey fireball jump is that if you do it quickly enough after activating rage, it basically cancels the fireball. Like the fireball just doesn't come out. And because the fireball doesn't come out, it doesn't cost any rage. So it allows us to essentially two-shot enemies to get our rage meter back up to full, as opposed to like 4 or 5-shot enemies after you would do a typical fireball jump. It's basically as if your rage meter has iframes for a period of time after you activate it. And so that gets us back to full here for Ghost Temple. So we're going to do the same kind of opener right there. And then this enemy always just happens to be in a good spot where we can just give him a little nudge, and then he gets us back up to full rage. And then out of this platform, we're going to be doing an extended long jump out of that animation, just as a little bit of an optimization. And then we're going to completely break this sub area. So you're supposed to break these 4 chains in order to lower these blocks down, but you can just rage jump over it. And there's the heart. Boom. There we go. So yeah, now we're going to be going into a rock suit segment. I'm going to refill my rage meter before we go get the Dragon Claw heart in the segment afterwards. But this is pretty standard fare as far as Vexx movement goes. Just trying to... something worth noting as well is with these extended long jumps, the more that you're able to delay between the jump input and the crouch input, the further you'll go, which means the faster you'll go, essentially. But if you're too late on the crouch input, you'll do an aerial attack input, which is something we do on purpose sometimes. But you have to, it's kind of this tightrope act, right? Where it's like, you want to maximize your distance, but if you put a little too much mustard on it, you'll just kind of like stand there in place and lose a second. And you're just like regretting life at that point. It's just a second, but as a speedrunner, it's one of those things where you're just like, why, God, why? But we got Rock Suit here, and then we're going to go ahead and get Dragon Claw, and that's going to finish off the end of Dragon Reach here. The opening is pretty much the same as the Wingsuit one, except we're just going to go up a different path once we go up the sort of the spring platform with the sun on it that you've been seeing me cancel short hops and the rate whatever jumps into it. There's a lot going on. I apologize for all the words. There's so much movement tech going on with this game. There's just so much to like try to explain. So I apologize if I'm like repeating myself or like anything like that.
Apologize. I'm sure that anyone who's coming in the middle of the run appreciates the repetition and the redundancy where it is happening, so that they're able to catch up. And also, I can't remember the last time I've ever heard someone say if you put too much mustard on it as a phrase. Like, I've heard of it. I've just never heard anyone say it in real life.
I'm sorry. I'm from the Midwest. It's probably that rubbing up on me. Unfortunate. You hate to see it. All right, so we're out of Dragon Reach now. We're doing pretty good here. We're going into Neverglades, into arguably one of the hardest hearts in the entire run. This is the Sand Temple, and we're going to be specifically going for the top of the Sand Temple heart. In order to unlock the sub-area for the Sand Temple, we have to grab these 3 hexagon keys. And so this is pretty standard fare, just sort of planing out where we want to do these extended long jumps here, and then we can kind of go outside of the sides there and jump back in, which looks risky, but it's really free. Couple of these. Extended high jump into a flip kick, just so I cancel out of... Sometimes you'll see me flip kick out of those extended high jumps just to make the animation a little faster, so I can get back into a grounded state, so I can do more extended long jumps. And it's just like, oh, there we go. It's just little things like that, little tiny optimizations. But I'm going to shut up for this part because this is really hard. Normally, you're supposed to hit 4 switches to raise the Sand Temple to reach this heart, but I'm going to be attempting a fast cycle to try to avoid it.
chat's now discussing their favorite kind of mustard. I like yellow.
Okay, so we hit the fast cycle, but we're not out of the woods yet. We have to do sort of a delayed fireball jump after chilling out on this platform here. We're not supposed to be up here. Got it. Nice. Okay. That and like one other are like the ones I was really worried about. So, again, that's a situation where the platforming is so vertical that if you screw that one up, you fall all the way down. And so it might look like we wasted a lot of rage there, and we did use a lot of rage there in order to get through that segment. But it's not a huge deal because Neverglades has the only example in the game of a rage refilling like well sort of thing, which is there because there's a puzzle that we're going to go complete in a second where you have to throw fireballs into a statue's eyes in order to reveal a wraith heart. And so that's going to be where we refill our rage meter for 3 there. And so this will be the second of 3 times we see the wingsuit. This is just a shortcut that's going to take us straight to the rage well. It's intended to fly into that heart over by the waterfall in the distance, but that's not, we're going to skip doing that in the segment after this. But it's just a nice little shortcut to have right there. We got the heart and we're good to go. And so, like, the first half of Neverglades is a pretty big run killer because you have top of the Sand Temple, which is, again, one of the hardest hurts in the run. And then you have the waterfall fireball jump. So I mentioned that you're supposed to have the wingsuit to get it in order to, like, fly into the heart's hitbox. That's the intended solution. But with the power of fakey fireballs, anything is possible. And so, Justin was... Oh, save? Good, okay.
Nice. Nice save.
Got the heart. Nice. Okay. Yeah, that's really fun. That's like probably where most people learn how to do fakey fireball jumps or like in general just fireball jumps for the first time is that heart because it's pretty forgiving because it's actually possible to do that without the fireball, but it's like a very tiny window. Like you have units of measurement. Which is why no one goes for it. And it wouldn't save that much time anyway. It's kind of just like a swag strat. So we're falling into the water here. We're going to be doing the electric fish puzzle. The goal of this puzzle is to get these 3 fish to follow us and walk them into a ring, and then that will reveal the Wraith Heart eventually. Looks like the fish are cooperating good. Most of the time they like to cooperate, but on very rare occasions they don't, and then your run dies because then you have to reload the room in order to get them to cooperate. And so they're all 3 going to go through the ring. Thank the Lord Almighty. And then we're just going to chill out here for a little bit. So I don't know if we had any in the chat already, but I just wanted to open the floor. If anybody has any like questions about any of the stuff I'm doing in this run or like any alternative strats, like anyone's like, oh, I want to run this, but this looks impossible. Yeah, just feel free to let us know in the chat and we can try to get to as many of them as we can because this run is a bit on the longer side. So happy to answer any questions about this game because I love this game. It's so sick.
There are a few people who have come in the chat to say that, you know, they remember this game, they really liked it as a kid. One person, first-time chatter, is like, oh, the memories, this game is dope. The fact that you are here to watch this game, and you decided to poke your head in chat, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Asking, what is your favorite level? Also, shout-outs to Honest Mustard in the chat.
Favorite level? That's like really hard. I would probably say Frostblight Mill is probably my favorite. This one's also up there too.
What made you want to pick this speedrun up other than the movement?
So I was put onto this game by a good friend of mine named Perilous Peanut, who some of you in the PlayStation speedrunning scene might recognize that name. He saw me run Whiplash, and he was like, dude, you would love this game if you liked Whiplash. And I'm like, and then I saw gameplay of it, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then I learned it. So that's the great thing about like being someone in like the underground or like obscure games, like part of the speedrunning community, is people just recommend you their games. Also, that might be my favorite individual heart casually in the game. It's the Soul Jar segment, and you're platforming like on the tapestry in the background, which is like cool from a gameplay perspective, but you're also going through like the history of the area we're in as well. Like I'm like, And this isn't a game in 2003. Like, that's genius, you know? I don't know. I think this game's rad, so I'm gonna info dump about it quite a bit over the course of this. But we're going back into the Sand Temple here. There's 2 hearts in the Sand Temple, one at the very peak and one inside the core. The one inside the core is way easier to get than the other one, but we're going to be doing this front side temple climb, which is a strat I think I was the one who found, which it was kind of important as well for the original time that we went through that segment because it allows you to make the moving up and down platform cycle more consistently. Runners had been able to do it before, but like that gives you a whole extra like second or 2 to make it, which is everything. This is another runner for one of my favorite levels, especially as a Chibi Robo fan. This is Tempest Peak Mountain, or just Tempest Peak for short, or Tempest Peak Manor, sorry. And this is a level where you are in a giant, like human-sized environment as a tiny little fella. And so there's a lot of really cool hearts in this section. It's a really fun level to run through too. We're gonna start out by beating up this guy in order to refill our rage, and then we're going to do a rage jump right here, which is gonna give us up on top of the lid of the piano into one of the more difficult sub areas, which is inside the piano. There's a lot of movement going on here, so we're going to be skipping a lot of these more horizontal segments here. I'm going to start by waiting for the camera to turn around and then buffer the short hop. That's going to let me grab the bottom side of this pole, which you're not supposed to be able to reach. And then we can do flip kicks up the top. Then if I jump into that, you can kind of just like clip through it. And then that lets you reset like all your resources and stuff. And now we're at the top of the section here, so... And then depending on how quickly you get through here, these music note platforms will be in different alignment. I actually got there so fast that I had to slow down a little bit in order to make sure I caught the platform properly, but we are out of piano. That was really, really solid. That's another one I was worried about. That one's sick. So next we're going to be doing another really quick heart, but we're also going to be setting the sundial on this level. We're going to be doing the sundial segment afterwards. And so generally what we try to do is set the sundial, go grab a quick heart, and then immediately after, go complete the sundial section for whatever part we're doing. So it happens to be underneath the piano here. And then we rotate it. Again, we want it to be between those two marks there. And I give it a little bit of extra mustard right there just to make... Yeah, I had to say it again, I'm sorry. Just a little bit of extra mustard in order to make sure. But yeah, this is like one of the easiest hearts in the game. Well, to find, I would say. The high jump that you do over the top of the lid of the piano there, that one is pretty tricky and takes a bit of practice. But now we're going to be going into the sundial segment here. We have to go inside the grandfather clock sub area to access the portal. And there is a small chance, hopefully I don't jinx myself, but there is a small chance of something called the sundial glitch happening, where the game kind of forgets what time of day it is, even though we just set it, and the portal doesn't open, and then we cry because we have to reload the game, or reset the timer in the sub area essentially, and we lose like a minute. But you know what happens is what happens. But assuming that doesn't happen, I'm going to be going for another quick cycle sort of thing once I'm actually inside the sundial area. There we go, we got it. So I'm going to be quiet here for a second because this one's hard.
Once you do have time, I've seen 2 interesting questions.
Oh, we got it. Oh, let's go. That is really tight. You have like a quarter of a second to work with in mistakes there. Yeah, that is going to buy me back 12 seconds. Nice. But yeah, go right ahead. We're just going to be doing another rage jump to skip this heart. So
the first question was, what is the fastest platform for running this game? What would you recommend? Because I know you're on GameCube. Is that the fastest platform?
Yeah, GameCube is the fastest platform. Well, for RTA, we actually do time without loads. So you can actually, in theory, run on PS2. And because we do time without loads, you just want to be on a version of the game that can remove the memory card, which is PS2 and GameCube. Xbox cannot do the glitch that we are going to do without it. But that being said, you don't need the glitch in order to complete the run. It will just let us skip a heart eventually. Cool little rage jump right here. And that skips the entire grandfather clock sub area right there, because that heart's always loaded. But I would recommend GameCube. We do allow off-disc play because, again, it's just time without loads. We just remove the loads for the leaderboards. So, you know, do what you got to do. I know a lot of people choose to play that way as well because they can play with whatever controller they want and rebind buttons as well. So it's really nice that this community's kind of chill with that sort of stuff. Brief flashing lights warning once I turn on the TV here. There's just a flicker effect, and it can be a little bit obnoxious. There we go. I'm gonna rebuild my rage here. So we're gonna play some. Oh, please, please, please. Now we're gonna play some Breakout. Okay, and the game finally gives me good luck. So the heart either goes left or right. This isn't the kind of Breakout where you can like curve the ball by like hitting it at a certain way. It's just a set pattern and cycle. It either goes left or right at the start, and regardless, you want the left. You want it to go to the left. So if we were to go to the right, I would just let it sink and lose a life here. But this is just on a set cycle here, and left side is like several seconds faster. So we got the good RNG. So hooray! Although we got kind of owned by the enemies. Yeah, we got a little. Well, actually, I was gonna say we have a little bit of a break, but for some reason we're able to jump off the joystick during this cutscene and grab the heart during the cutscene, which is gonna cause the music to glitch out and just not play for this part, and then we're out of Breakout. And now we're going into the soul jars for Tempest Peak Manor, which scares most runners and pretty much everybody who has never watched a run of this. You see that chandelier up there? All of the soul jars are on different side, it's a 6-sided chandelier, I guess, and there is a soul jar on each of the candles in the chandelier, and it moves and tilts back and forth, and it's terrifying. So that's actually a little bit of an optimization I do there. I actually do an extended long jump there instead of the safer extended high jump. And then I'm going to press Y twice, which is going to unstick my camera, which makes this platforming section way easier. Yeah, not like the worst section casually, but when you're doing extended long jumps over this and trying not to fall off, and you're trying to rotate the camera all at the same time, very scary.
Precarious, yeah.
There we go. So there's 6. And so there's also a platform that's supposed to rescue us off from the chandelier here, but we're based on just how quickly we get here, we're usually not in phase for it. So we're gonna do a rage jump here. Oh, I guess not. So I unfortunately bonked here. So we'll just take the platform. That just saves a couple of seconds there. And now we're gonna be going into the below here. This is where we find out that the old Sage character at the start of the game betrays us. But more importantly, this is going to be where we refight Sumo in the below. And in this fight, as I make my way there, I'm going to need a little bit of quiet time because I'm going to be walking at a very specific way in order to hopefully perform RNG manipulation to get exactly the pattern I want. So this is going to require a little bit of concentration just to make sure I hit my lines here. And then I'll explain kind of what this is for. Good, should be fine. So essentially this boss, his pattern and when he does specific attacks or what attacks he chooses to do, the random number generation that they use to determine that is based on how many frames you've been inside the level. And so there's a cluster of frames that are all really, really good, that are all right next to each other. So we do a specific setup when we fall into the water there, and hopefully to capture one of them, so that we don't see a very specific attack here. Alright, so we got it, good. So, what we were trying to avoid there with the RNG manip is an attack where he puts his arms over his head, does the Praise the Sun, and then launches those rocks that are flying around the arena, and it's really, really slow. So I managed to successfully get the RNG manipulation there. And so this kind of works similar in principle to the previous sumo fight. Except you've got this water that's pushing you slowly off course, and it's really scary. I also went into this fight in a risky way without filling up my rage meter, so I can't use a rage jump to save myself here in case I accidentally get knocked off. That's okay, because I'm hitting all my shots here, which is really good. And then we just got one more here, and that'll be the sumo fight. Really glad I hit the manip. It can be a nightmare to react to if he doesn't give you the pattern that you want. And so I don't remember who found that setup, but I think it was one of those things where people just realized that you could kind of reliably get the same pattern every time if you just did that specific walks, like instead of like long jumping into the water, you just walk into the water, and then as soon as you hit the water, you hold down R to swim. Is one of those kinds of things. All right, so Sumo is out of the way. He can ruin lives. He's ruined many a run of mine and of many other runners too. And now we're going to be going down into the volcano segment, the volcano bubbler, I guess, below the below. And there's going to be 2 hearts that we get in here. And so the opening to it is going to be kind of the same, but I'm going to direct your attention to once we actually get inside the boat minigame, because we're going to do a really cool glitch there in order to essentially cheese the minigame that's inside of it. So, and it long jumps through here. There's kind of some ceilings going on here, so I have to be very careful with where I place my long jumps there. And you also see me kind of go out to the side and then flip kick back. The collision there is very deceptive, so you have to play that a little bit safer than you probably want to in order to get through there A-okay. And whenever I'm climbing poles, you're also going to see me like jump off and then flip kick. That's just a lot faster than the normal climbing animation. All right, and so now we're going to go into the boat minigame here. And the way that this works is that you're supposed to hit all of these switches while sort of the pirates in the back are launching cannonballs to sort of flip them in the incorrect direction. But what I can do is I can do an extended high jump out of rage to hit the cutscene trigger from both the side and the top at the same time. That sends that triggers the animation for the cannonballs twice, which actually launches 2 sets of them, meaning that they all explode on each other, meaning that I can just hit one of the tiles and instantly complete the minigame. Yeah, I don't know about that one, but it's hype, so. Run's looking pretty clean so far. Pretty happy with how this is going, so. We're going to be doing some more of that volcano movement, but then instead of going to the boat, we're going to be climbing all the way up to the peak of the volcano here, so. Amber, I don't know if we had any more questions, or if you had any questions about this game, this run so far, feel free.
So there was one question a fair bit earlier about Summit. There is a heart in Summit that's soft locks. Do you have a backup strat for that?
Yeah, I do. So generally the way, I'll mention that when I get there, but I do, I do a specific setup for that where I do an extended long jump right until before I get into the cutscene. So that way I kind of ensure that I get the distance I need, and if I'm too far, I just hit the cutscene trigger. So essentially what's going to go on in that segment is there's going to be a heart that we want to grab and a cutscene that we don't want to trigger until we grab it. And so if you you soft lock by activating the cutscene and then getting put into the heart by the cutscene. So my backup for that is to put myself into a position where any mistake I make makes me just hit the cutscene and not the heart. So it's a little hard to explain, but yeah, for the concerned Vexx runner in the chat who brought that up, I do have plans for that. And I also have like a backup save where if I do soft lock, we can just continue the run from there and then just like showcase the rest of the route. Nice. So I do a bit of a blind long jump right there into a rage jump in order to get me up and into that heart so you don't have to skip the rest of that corkscrew platform. And now we're going into Soul Jars. This is also up there for one of my favorite hearts in like to run through. Because you're intended to get a couple of soul jars in this first section and then go in and out of these different pipes to get to the other on land segments of the below, which is how you're kind of intended to get all of them. But instead, we're going to remain completely out of water to get all of the soul jars, which I think is really sick, especially if you've played this heart casually. We're going to start by setting up the sundial here. This is going to be for the heart after this. We're going to grab this one, and then I'm going to fix my camera here. Send it high jump into a ground slam, into a flip kick, into a fakey fireball jump. That's going to get us out of bounds and on the rock crags above, which gets us into the next on land segment. You're going to see like you're going to start to see the different like water tubes that you're normally expected to take in order to get to all of these different sections. We're going to completely skip those. That fakey fireball jump is the hard part. But we've got one more rage jump that we gotta do here. We get those two for free. Well, not for free, but, you know, they're just right there. We grab this one, and I actually do my uppercut early there so I don't accidentally like uppercut into the tube and have to wait to fall back down again. And then you can just extended high jump out of rage over that one into the ouch. Poor guy. We have a category that is specifically dedicated to doing that as quickly as possible. Can't say the name on GDQ stream, but shoutouts to all the people who run it. It's a great category. That's also
I know what category it is.
Yeah. I mean, weirdly enough, we're thinking about renaming it. But weirdly enough, that's also the category that I would recommend to anyone who wants to get started running this game. It's like a 25 minute run, as opposed to an hour and a half for the any percent. And it's a really good way to get the fundamentals of movement down. So you basically get the hearts that you need to unlock this level, and then you go and do that, and the run is over. So, yeah, no, that's one of my favorite segments, just because like you completely break the way that you're supposed to do that. And now we're coming into probably everybody's least favorite sundial by a lot. It is the below sundial, where there's a bunch of these crusher blocks that will insta-kill you. And I'm going to be doing a bit of a risky opening strat. Basically, I'm going to be luring one of the blocks to fall onto me by standing underneath it, and then do a couple of extended long jumps out from underneath it, and then do some extra aerial movement in order to like ride along the railing where the block isn't, so that I don't have to wait for the block to raise all the way back up here. Just like that. And so you can see I'm kind of grinding on the side of the rail here while this is raising back up, so I don't have to wait for it. We're not out of the woods yet. There's all these crusher platforms right here, all these platforms that just kind of fall by the wayside, and then I'm going to skip some parts of this section by just jumping over them. A little bit of randomness here with what kind of barriers that you get there, and then we're going to jump around this door, skipping fighting the enemies. And then we have the corkscrew of death. There's going to be all these sickles on the side here that just, again, love to ruin your life. There we go. All right, that was a bit slow. But for this last crusher, we can cheese it by doing a rage jump to get on top of it, which has a much bigger hitbox than it appears, which I always find funny. And then we can just go ahead and grab the heart. So that was a little slow, but I took that one a little more safe just to make sure I don't die. Because I really don't want to run out of lives, because we do this run without autosave on, because it would autosave after collecting every heart. And that loses a boatload of the time over the course of the run. It's like a couple of seconds per heart. And we grabbed 60 of them, so do the math in your head and you can get an idea of why we don't do that. Going into another cool one here called Laser Beam, where there's this big laser beam array that we have to hit a switch at the very top of in order to collect the Wraith Heart for. And it's kind of like this Coliseum-shaped looking thing where there's a bunch of platforms and waterfalls, and we're going to be doing a lot of vertical movement in order to skip most of it. And it's a bit tricky. I'm trying to do this without fakey fireballs, so it's going to require very maximum height extended high jumps in order to make works. So essentially, delaying the crouch input for as long as I can get away with here in order to make these strats work. So we'll see that in a moment. The first one is probably the harder of the two. That should clear. Nice. And then for that one right there, what I did is there was that sort of overhang above me. And so what I did to get around that is I sort of walked towards the edge of the ledge, let my stick fall to a neutral position so that it would register that as an extended high jump. And then as I'm sliding off, that like gets me out under the edge enough to have some momentum to work with while still giving me the extended high jump input that I want right there. So a little bit of complicated movement tech right there in order to get through that one, but that was a pretty solid laser beam outside of getting grabbed by the enemy there, but yeah, it happens sometimes. And then this is going to be like a slight motion sick warning because the camera is going to be upside down. As the name of the heart implies, this one's upside down. We hit a switch and then it's going to flip the world upside down and our controls. And then we have to hit a bunch of platforms before the gravity reverses and kicks us off. And if I do this part right, I will be upside down for the entire time, which means I've done it optimally. But it's a really annoying heart to learn how to do fast, because you essentially have to like reverse your muscle memory for how you would want your brain would want to go about doing extended long jumps. right, so here's the upside down. 1.
Oh, that's funky.
It's funky, yeah. There we go. All right. So even though we unlock the heart, it's still going to be upside down for a bit. So I have to basically now navigate to the heart upside down. There we go. And we got it before it flipped gravity, so that's pretty good. Awesome. And so this heart is really funny. This heart, in order to unlock it, there is a password combination on a chest inside the belly of that giant fish monster that's been swimming at the top of the dome in this level. And it's supposed to be a puzzle to figure out the combination. And the solution to the puzzle is that you're supposed to go to page 18 of the game's instruction booklet, and that's where they have buried the hidden treasure of the password for the chest. I'm not kidding. I was so stuck here in my casual playthrough because I just picked up a loose disc of the game. And I was just like, well, how do I solve this? And then I looked it up, and they were just like, oh, it's AXP. You're supposed to figure it out with the instruction manual. And I was just like, why?
Oh my! I saw someone mention that the button combination was in the manual for one of the hearts in this level.
Yep, it's this one, yeah. But it's also one of the easiest and fastest hearts in the game, so it's kind of nice. Once you know it, it's like it's one less heart that you have to worry about, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
And speaking of one less heart that we have to worry about, this is where we're gonna start to see why it's so important to run on GameCube, or at least a version of the game that can remove the memory card. Because the only way that this glitch that we're about to do works is possible when autosave is disabled, and the only way you can disable the autosave in all versions of the game is to have the memory card unplugged. And that doesn't work on Xbox, from what I understand. And so we're going into Dagger Crag now. This level's got a really fun opener to it that we get to see a lot, where I do a rage jump onto this windowsill into some more funky movement tech to grab this ledge. And I'm going to be doing a rage jump up to here. And now we're going to go into the monk's sub area. So this is kind of weird. So there is a heart that you get for breaking the glass dome at the top of this level, but there's also another like decorative copy of it inside the monk's sub area. And for whatever reason, normally if the game like had autosave on, it would correctly register that as the heart from the top of the glass dome. But because we have the memory card unplugged, it will treat this and the one at the top of the glass dome as two separate hearts. Oh, that was a gold too. Let's go. And so what that essentially does is it duplicates that heart. So normally that wouldn't count for anything, but because like all the weird saving not happening stuff is going on, it counts as a freebie heart. And so we're just going to yoink that one, and then we're going into a very dreaded strat, which is called Triple Jump Arena. There's this arena section where we're supposed to kill a bunch of enemies in order to raise this platform up to the heart, but there's pulls that I can do a series of inputs on to jump to the heart early, but I can't do a standard fakey fireball jump because otherwise my head will bonk on the ceiling. So I need to do what's called a rage long jump, and in order to do that, the inputs are really tight. It's one of those situations where I need my rage jump to press the crouch input as late as possible to get this to work. Okay, so luckily the floater was in my way there, so I got to rebuild my rage there. This will probably take me a couple of tries. This is one of the hardest strats in the run. I need this floater to be out of the way here. Oh. Nope. So every time I fail this, I gotta rebuild rage, but luckily there's like a mountain of enemies here that can help me out. This is like the other heart that I was really worried about, so. Early. Now the nerves are starting to get to me. Alright.
Alright, you got this.
Need the floater to get out of the way. Yeah, okay, yes. There we go. Oh, that's a weight off my shoulders.
There we go.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, certain animations, if you rush the input, will default to a certain type of rage jump. and doing it out of the rage animation, it defaults to a rage high jump, and you need the rage long jump there. So you have to delay the input there as long as humanly possible in order to get that one to work, and it's extremely difficult to do consistently. Luckily, everything else in this level is not free, but a lot easier by comparison. We're gonna go do the block puzzle next. In this one, you're supposed to break blocks in a specific sort of way in order to puzzle platform your way up here. But we have the power of rage jumping, so we can create our own solution to puzzle and just get the heart in like 3 seconds. Yoink. And then we're going into soul jars here. Soul jars is another fun segment. We get to see the next 2 hearts. We're gonna get to see that same sort of opener where I'm gonna be rebuilding rage at the start just so that I can do rage jumps, and we do that rage jump onto sort of the top of the Windows fixture there. And then we do an extended high jump into flip kick into ground pound. And the order there is important because we need Vexx to give us a ledge grab here in order to get all the way up here. And if you end your movement with the ground pound attack, it sort of snaps you to ledges that are a little bit higher than you. And so we make use of that property right there in order to make that strat way, 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 way more consistent. We're going to be looping our way through the soul jars here. They all kind of loop around on this central tower here, so we can make really good use of our rage jumping here in order to get through this section pretty cleanly. We get here quickly enough, we make this cycle. Nice, and that allows us to ride up this platform right away. And then the last soul jar is over here. And then what I'm gonna try to do, is long jump into the soul jar so that after I get paused out of midair, I can do a flip kick, redirect my momentum, fall right into the heart. All right. Starting to cook, all right. And so now we're actually gonna go save the monk. I'm gonna do a variation on the rage jump that I did the last time I visited the monk, where I am instead going to do a fakey fireball to give me a little bit of extra height so I can just move a little bit further. It's just a tiny little optimization. So same kind of opener. Yeah, and you see how like right there I was way below the ledge there? That's danger. So I'm going to go ahead and use the rage jump to save myself there. He's still alive, so I can use that to reset my... There we go, we got up there. Because we're going to be doing an enemy combat segment, you can use kind of as much rage as you want there because we're just going to be fighting enemies for a bit here. So yeah, I don't know if you had any more like questions or comments or like random things.
A lot of lore getting dropped about the game, its development in chat, and also a lot more people coming in, like, I'm here for Vexx, or I haven't seen this game in years. I've been seeing a lot of that. I know that going off of what I'm seeing, this game basically got cut in half in terms of the required hearts and levels and whatnot.
Yeah, and it's also interesting too because like a lot of like the volcanoes that are like the lava and volcano looking levels as well were all supposed to be like part of one zone that I believe eventually got cut out. I need to kill some enemies here. I don't know why I'm getting fleeced so hard by these grapply guys today. Holy smokes.
Someone's asking, what would you say is the hardest heart in this run? For them, it'd be some of the hearts in Citadel.
Yeah, it's definitely Citadel. I would argue Citadel Shadow's Left Path is probably up there. I think Sky Island's Fast Cycle is up there. Neverglade's Top of the Sand Temple is up there. Honestly, like, up until the last heart that we get in the run, that entire part is just ridiculous, and I'll mention that once we get there. I think Triple Jump Arena is in contention, and then Flipping Sky Platforms is also in contention. Frostbite Mill in general is a very difficult level. Like, once you get past Dagger Crag, Furnace is up there, which we'll see in the next level, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. So this is going to be the only time when we run through Dagger Crag that the levels, we're going to go kind of through the intended path. That's because we need to reach the Sundial, because we're going to go do the Sundial level after this. And it's faster to get to the Sundial by taking the casual way than it would be by doing sort of the speedrun route that we've been using up until this point. So this is how you would normally get up here in a casual playthrough. And so we're going to turn it into that midsection right there between the two, just to make sure we have enough time to get there. And then this is, we're going to be going and getting the glass dome heart that I mentioned earlier. We got one copy of it. Now we're actually going to the top of the level to get the other copy of it. I didn't quite make the cycle. That's fine. So, like I mentioned earlier, because we don't have the memory card plugged in, this will count basically one heart as two, which is kind of funky. Please. And we can do this really fun climb strat to get on top right there. That was something that I believe I found. A little bit scuffed, but we're out of there. Now we're going to go do the sundial level. This is another cycle-based level where if I do it quickly enough, I can make a really hype cycle, but it's also really, really hard, and I don't make it consistently, so I'm just going to hope for the best here. We got to go back into the triple jump arena sub-area. That's where the sundial portal is. Time of day looks good, which means we probably aren't going to get sundial glitched here. Cross your fingers. This is the last sundial that we're going to be doing in the run, so after that, we're pretty much free and clear to go in terms of getting sundial glitched. And then I'm going to concentrate while I do the sundial segment because I want to try to make the cycle because it's hype. Or it would be hype if I hit it. Cycle doesn't start until I cross through the portal though, so... Ooh, please? Yeah, sometimes the camera likes to do interesting things to your perspective.
Good old early 2000s.
Yeah, so probably not making the cycle, unfortunately, but that's fine. The backup cycle is still really fast.
Yeah.
That one right there. And we rage jumped to skip the other cycle and having to climb.
Platform shrinking as you landed on it actually gave me like a mild heart attack there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no!
It's terrifying, but that's why you always aim for the center of those platforms so that you never get yoinked, as I like to call it.
Yep.
You just get yoinked off the face of the earth. All right, and now we're going into the mummy sub-boss here, where essentially it's just going to run around the side in ball form. It's the ball with the screaming mummy inside of it. And then it'll get tired out because being a ball is tough work. You know, long day's work. And then all I have to do is just hit him twice per cycle, and then we'll be good to go. But this is a pretty chill segment, so I don't know if we had any more questions or comments, or if you wanted to plug anything, but this would be a great time.
I just want to remind everyone that y'all are awesome for being here, and that your subs, your Prime Gaming subs, your gift subs, and all your bits cheered here on the GDQ Twitch channel do help support Games Done Quick Hotfix. So if you do have the means to subscribe, or maybe you got a Prime lying around, please consider I've done it again. Please consider subscribing if you enjoy the daily speedrunning content, whether it's, you know, Passion Project here on Wednesdays, or maybe you're a fan of Mercy Kill, or anything else that we offer. So go to gamesdonequick.com/hotfix if you want to check out what other shows are on our schedule. Pending new shows incoming. We just closed applications for that, and I'm really excited to see what shows were submitted, or rather, what of the shows that were submitted, what ideas got accepted.
There we go. So the whole purpose of me like extended long jumping around the side there was to prevent the mummy from like doing a bounce thing where when he rolls off the stage, he like bounces back and forth several extra times. So I managed to avoid them for all 3 cycles, which pretty much means I got an optimal fight. And now we're going into the late game gauntlet where we have Summit of Sages, Frostblight Mill, and Citadel Shadows all back to back to back. There's a couple of parts where I get to relax a little bit, but this is by far where all good runs come to die. We're gonna start with Summit of Sages. This is another one of my favorite levels, just because there's like a ton of really cool hearts to play through. And so the one that we're going to start with is jars. This is kind of that part we were alluding to, where somebody asked if I had a strategy to avoid soft locking, because we're going to be doing a really cool skill. Vexx, thank you. Yeah, it can be a little. There's like this game has like a nearly perfect movement system, but if there are a couple of things I could change, it'd be 1, the camera, 2, the swimming controls, and what was the third one? I forget. Hold on a second. I gotta quit for a moment. There we go. There we go. There was a third thing that I was upset about. The camera, the swimming controls. There was one other thing. Yeah, well, I'll remember at some point.
I'm sure you'll remember the second it irritates you.
Yeah, exactly. But this sub area you have to unlock by like hitting all those buttons, and you basically carve your face into Mount Rushmore, if you will, which I think is just the most metal thing ever. This sub area has 2 hearts. We're going to be doing the scarier of the 2 first, which is stone carving jars, or as it's labeled. This is just the jars portion of this level, but this is going to be the one where we skip all of the jars. Actually, the way that it works is like there's like this 6-sided cube that is like a TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside than it is from the outside. And you hit a button to flip it. And whenever you flip the rotation of sort of like this 6-sided die, it flips like the platform layout around. And it's really, really cool. Unfortunately, the heart is right above it. And so what I can do is extended long jump, rage jump, and I'm going to do this for safety, and I can grab the heart before it lifts the cube up for the cutscene, skipping the whole segment entirely. So, yeah. So the soft lock that happens there is if you miss the heart, but the cube pushes you up into the heart, then you're screwed. But we got through there just fine. Not that bad of a strat. It's just that's a strat where you can psych yourself out. This is another one of my favorite hearts. This is going to be the furnace sub area, where there's going to be like a bunch of like conveyor belts and moving equipment and stuff, and it's a really cool sub area. And we're gonna get to see another Fakey Fireball segment, which is again where I'm doing a rage jump into fireball jump, but I'm doing the fireball input at a certain timing in order to basically make use of rage bar iframes, I guess, in order to throw the fireball for free and get the extra jump without spending extra meter. And so we get to do some long jumps off, or we get to do long jumps up here. The fun thing about slopes in this game as well is if it's steep enough, you can just mash the jump button while you're holding crouch, and you'll just chain long jumps. There's the Fakey Fireball, that one pretty well. And then if you do that all quickly enough, you get here in time to catch this Crusher on time, and then you can actually jump on top of it and use that to make the... I got yeeted. Unfortunate. So I basically got like the whole like segment there, pretty much what you would see in a run, but unfortunately sometimes there you do get yeeted off. It's really tight timing there. Yeah, and so sometimes there's that as well. Oh, I'm going all the way down.
Oh.
Unfort. Well, we get to see the segment again, so that's cool. Luckily there is an enemy here that I can use to refill my rage, or there was. This will get complicated. Oh my goodness, I'm just throwing it. I'm just running it down. Oh, that's because he fell down here.
Oh, he joined you.
Yeah. All right. Things happen. All right. Here we go. All right, now we're back up to where we were, and I also missed the Crusher cycle again. Tragic. All right, we're good though. There we go. That's what I wanted.
Let's go.
If you hit the side of it, it's like sloped, and it's the kind of slope that won't let you jump off of it, and it's really rude. That's what kept happening to me there, unfortunately. It's very tight, so, you know, that's where you expect. Again, this is the part of the run where you are going to lose the run because it's so difficult, but we didn't lose the life, which I'm trying to bank my lives going into Citadel of Shadows because that is by far the hardest part of the run. And it is very easy to... There are just pits everywhere, and it is a nightmare. Yeah, we're going next to the Rising Water button sub area. This has a really cool strat that I believe Bell showed to me originally. I don't know who discovered it, but I'm just going to credit Bell. I'll mention him later during shoutouts. He found a lot of really amazing stuff and is also just a godlike runner of this game, so shoutouts to Bell, I guess, now. Also just kind of a mentor for me and teaching me a lot of the stuff in this run, because this is kind of one of those games where you really, even with tutorials, you kind of want someone to help you, walk you through things, because it's just that level of difficulty. So huge shoutouts to Bell. So the way that this sub area works is it's a puzzle where you have to find all of these buttons that raise the water level, which eventually raises it to the point where it fills the room and lets you grab the heart by swimming to the top. We're going to skip the first button by doing a rage jump. Hit that button. That's going to let us jump on top of the inner tube, which is not normally expected. This lets us ride some more platforms, and then I can rebuild my rage off of this floater so that I can get all the way up here, and then I'm gonna get this other floater to come with me so I can get my rage one more time, and then if I do this right... Oh my god, I rushed the input. I saved it though. Yeah, luckily it's really fast to back up your rage here, so we're gonna go for it again because it's tight. There we go. Alright, I'll take second try. That still saves a lot of time if you get it second try, so... Like, I'm saving time over PB there, so we take that. So for this next segment, this is a bit of a flashing lights warning. I'm going to be doing water rings next, and every time I go through a water ring, for whatever reason, it's going to flash on screen pretty bright for like a fraction of a second, and I just, like to mention those things in advance, so I'll let you know when it's over. We rebuild our rage there, and we're going to do some swimming. We're going to do the rings a little bit out of order. This is just to... The swimming controls can be a little bit funky sometimes, so we do this in such a way as to make our life easier as we're going through here. And then I'm going to try to do a similar thing to the very start of the run where I catch that ring from below, so I don't have to like jump all the way to the top of it. That was very sketchy. I barely hit the hitbox for that one. Then we're going to be going ahead and grabbing this one. That little bell thing with the statue opens up once you hit all the water rings. So... Got 2 more water rings here, and then I can kind of get rid of the flashing lights warning. So it's just really bright. It's really obnoxious too. It's like I like to joke. It's like getting caught in 4K. It's just like ow. All right, that's the last of the rings. So you can look at the screen now if light sensitivity is a thing. I'm gonna ask somebody to clip that for me because that is a strat that I have never done before. That just saved me a couple of seconds of swimming. Anywho, now we're in the glacier sub area here. So I'm gonna do an extended high jump out of this one. Every little, I kind of failed to mention this, but like every little thing that you can kind of get those extended high jumps out of has a different timing to getting specific inputs. And also we just avoided the security system just like that. You can just jump along the side of it. And that's a goal. We take those. I've gotten like 3 golds this run. That's pretty sick. So we're going to be going back into the sub area where we did the jar skip with the dice. Where we're just going to be going and doing a maze instead. And so this will be a similar kind of opening here. We do this opening this one more time where we're going to be doing the extended high jump out of the jumping out of water animation. In order to clear the ledge. A big reason why so many of these extended high jumps save time is because they cut ledge grab animations, which are really slow in a lot of 3D platforms, especially this one. So any little way where you can grab extra height can be really crucial when avoiding a ledge grab, which does add up over the course of the run. Okay, so we're going to be going down the sand slide here. Just kind of a little bit of an auto-scroller bit. And then the way that this puzzle works is there's these 6 statues on the left and right, and they need to, you hit switches on them to change their color from white and black in reverse, and we need them to line up with the jewels on those big statues in the back right there. So I'm going to do a big extended long jump that's going to let me grab this ledge. Nice, glad I hit that one. That one's a little tricky. And then I can, I'm going to grab the ledge. Okay, good save. We want that one to be the default. I accidentally hit that button. That can be a little annoying sometimes with this heart. And then we're going to rage jump in order to skip the platforming that you would normally have to do to get back on top of these. And that's going to open the portal into this maze. This is going to be another one of those sections where it like puts us into like a 2D image to start platforming, like those 2D sections in Mario Odyssey. But this one's just a maze. It's the same pattern every time, so we actually don't long jump in here because it is a little bit slower, save for the last one we do to get into the heart. And then after this, we'll go to up the drain. So I don't know if we had any more like questions or comments, or anybody had anything to ask about this game, but this would be a good quick moment for any of that nonsense.
So someone Peanut is asking in chat, are you going for Yabu skip?
No, I am not going for Yabu skip. I actually don't know how to do that skip. So that's a strat in the final boss where you can skip the first phase of it with by far the hardest rage tech in the entire game. It's 2 rage long jumps, one of which being out of a high jump, which is like really precise. And so here we're gonna do what's called up the drain. So that part is normally accessed by going down the sink drain in Tempest Peak Manor. Oh, that was cool too. But you can just, the bottom of it isn't solid, so if you just extended high jump into it, you can just get to it for free. All right, so we are now into Frostblight Mill. This is like my favorite level, probably casually. But we're going into a very funny cheese strat. You're normally supposed to get this heart underneath the map by using the wingsuit. Instead, what I'm going to do is extended long jump, ground slam, flip kick, boom.
Wow.
That's a funny one.
Wingsuit?
Yeah. Oh, we'll see the wingsuit momentarily when we get to flipping sky plats. But now we're going to be going, making our way to the windmill slide sub area. But I have to do a really tight movement cycle here, and I'm not going to make it. So that's unfortunate. I need perfect movement here in order to make a very specific cycle here. But I completely beefed it, so we're going to do backup strats here, where we're just going to chill here for a second. There's a gust of wind that blows, and gets blocked then by the propeller blades. But if you go there quickly enough, you can actually make it all the way across before the wind completely blows you off. And so now we're going to do the Mario 64 slide level.
That's the first thing I thought of when I saw this.
And speaking of, we're going to go ahead and do Cheat the Race, where we're just going to jump off the slide. The end is right over there. We just take the fall damage, and then we're at the end of the slide.
Let's go.
Yeah. And then we're going to be going into lava under ice after this. Somebody mentioned this as well, but like a lot of this game got cut and rearranged due to time constraints, where like there's supposed to be like a whole fire lava world that just never saw the light of day. But a lot of its hearts and sub areas still exist and have been like placed into a lot of these different levels, even though it thematically doesn't make all that much sense. So for example, there's a lava area underneath Frostblight Mill of all places, and it's got a really fun movement chain through it. So 1, 2. So we break the ice. That's why it's called lava under the ice, because it's underneath the ice. And then I'm going to do 5 spaced extended long jumps here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Divert the 6th one off to the side. I go through that tiny little opening right there, and then I can continue my movement chain all the way in through here. Then it high jump up there to skip the ledge grab. And then because I got here so quick, it puts all these platforms into the perfect cycle, which then puts all of these swinging spike balls into the perfect cycle so that I don't get knocked away. And that's lava under ice.
Sick.
Boom. That was really good.
Sick.
And that is a gold by a second. Yeah, that felt really good too.
Yeah, that looked really good. Like I was watching you practice that one right before the show.
Yeah.
And saw some stumbles here and there, and I was like, I wonder how that's gonna go when we actually get into the run itself. And like that went really well.
Boom. That felt really good, yeah. So this is one of my favorite strats in the run. We're going to be doing flipping sky plats, and it's normally a bunch of vertical platforming on these like moving platform cycles that you normally have to wait around for, and it's a nightmare, and it's super long, and we don't like it because it takes forever. So right here, I got here a little bit late. All right, this is going to get... I probably shouldn't risk this, but I'm going to. I want to have rage here so I can save this and do a rage jump if needed, but I'm going to do this in a risky manner and try to catch a platform instead. So what I'm going to do is get the wingsuit here, fly down to one of these wind geysers here and then do a ground slam and hold backwards. This is going to cause me to get launched up into the air all the way to the top of the Flipping Sky platforms segment here. So because I don't have rage going into this, what I need to do is catch one of these platforms and land on top of it to cancel out of the wingsuit here. All right, we are safe. Cool.
Nice.
And now I've got some wall jumping. That was the thing. It's the camera, the swimming, and the wall jumping.
There it is.
Wall jumping in this game is turbo jank, as you can probably see.
It looks really bad. Oh my god.
There we go. All right,
Okay.
we're through. Okay, that was like another part I was really terrified about, but we got it, and we're out of there, even after playing it really risky here. So there is a big sub area inside the windmill in this level where you're supposed to do all this vertical platforming in the windmill. But similar to the grandfather clock that we saw in Tempest Peak Manor, the heart at the very top is always loaded. And so because of that, we can actually do a really cute little skit in order to get the heart early without having to go through the sub area. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm holding A whenever I go up these wind geysers. That's what's allowing me to get up here. I should have mentioned that, but that's not really intended. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for this blade of the windmill here. I'm going to jump on it, and then we're just going to ride it all the way to the top. I have to tiptoe here in order to get all the way up top. Extended long jump, leap of faith there. And then I do an extended long jump right into the slope. It slides me into the heart, skipping the animation. And then that's windmill skip. That one's just really funny because you're just riding the box of the windmill all the way up there.
Yeah, like
and
that looked extremely precarious.
It's a little dicey. But the nice thing is it's really easy to save yourself if you beef it, so now we're going into Snowball Chest Keys, which is like the only time we're going to like this side of the level ever. Because all the hearts that are like involved with yeah, there we go. I kind of got disoriented there, so I just did a rage jump there for safety. Now we're going to go into the sub area. The way that this sub area works is that you throw snowballs into the chests in order to get 3 keys, and then the 3 keys unlocks a Wraith Heart inside of it. So we want to kill this enemy right here so that he doesn't heck with us. And then throw it. And then we're going to hopefully make our way upstairs to the next one. We're going to be doing a strat so I can skip about half of the platforming segment here. It's also worth mentioning that all of these platforms are slippery.
How are the ice physics in this game?
Not that bad, but it's also ice physics, so
yeah.
So we're gonna go all the way back here. I'm gonna line this one up, and then I'm gonna do a jump and then B input, and that's gonna launch that snowball all the way up there, which is not supposed to be intended. And then from here, what we can do is I managed to get lucky with the snowball. These. Ooh. Okay, the no luck. We'll take it.
Oh my god.
That can be a little RNG heavy sometimes with where your snowballs are and where they decide to land. So it can be a little annoying, but we got through there okay. So I'm pretty happy about that. And then we go just like that. And you obviously want to avoid that enemy right there, but I played it a little too close to him, so I just had to wiggle out of his mind control and then do a rage jump out of it. And then we have the last use of the rock suit, which is going to be a pretty straightforward segment. I'm going to skip a couple of uses of the rock suit here just by doing some pretty straightforward platforming. But then after that, we're going into Citadel of Shadows, and from then on there, the run is brutal. So if we have any more questions or plugs or anything that we want to talk about before the end of the run, this is probably the time.
Someone asked earlier, what's your least favorite enemy in the game?
Does the final boss count?
I mean, it certainly can. I also hear that it has a 1 in 1,000 animation that can play in the cutscene.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, apparently the Yabu cutscene has a 1 in 1,000 animation, according to
great.
to one of our wonderful chatters.
Yeah, Yabu. It's either Yabu or the floaters with like the stingers on them. Those guys not cool. The opposite of cool, actually. All right, so we got the rock suit one, and now we're going into Citadel of Shadows, which I'm gonna shut up while I'm doing the platforming for basically the next 4 hearts for the most part. I'll talk in between a little bit, but these are by far the hardest stretch of hearts in the run. Left path being a prime example of that. So I'm trying to make a cycle, and then the rest of it is still ridiculously hard. So wish me luck. I'm going to shut up here for a little bit, so just be patient with me.
Best of luck.
3,
Your chat can spare you the patience.
5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Good. We made that cycle. That part's hard. Okay, we're pretty much in the clear.
Oh, that was so sick.
Oh, okay. We're fine.
Okay, that wasn't that too bad of a drop.
Yeah, that was like the best way I could have made a mistake there. I got a little unlucky that the imp wandered toward me, which canceled my ledge grab animation, which is why I fell there. It wasn't worth rage jumping there again because I know the platform was like right there. And then this is going to look dicey, but there's kind of a flow chart to how you play those spoon platforms. But yeah, okay, we got through left path without dying. That's a big win. Right path is a little bit less scary. I'm going to be doing some specific movement to, instead of trying to jump on the poles, I'm going to be trying to jump on the blocks that support the floating poles, essentially. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. That happens. The camera there also doesn't do you any favors, so that's something that can happen there sometimes. There we go, that's what I was looking for.
Nice.
So instead of having to jump off the poles, which is slow, you can just extended long jump off the bottoms of them. And then we're going to completely skip this section of vertical platforming here by doing a rage jump, flip kicking him midair so I can do another rage jump. Really fun little strat. And then we have the spinning wheel of doom. So I have to be very careful not to touch those little propeller blade sort of things there, because those will electrify me and probably just insta-kill me if they're feeling like it. And there we go, that's right path. All right. I will take 1 death between left and right path. Those are 2 very difficult hearts, but hopefully if I do okay, I can... middle path is probably the easiest part to die, because we're going to have these spinning rings that electrify you and 9 times out of 10 stop you in place once you get hit, which is pretty much a guaranteed kill. So we have 2 that we have to get down the middle path here. One is the icosahedron, I believe is what it's called. Alright, so I'm going to do a back up there to... Yeah, so normally I use a rage jump to skip this part, but I burnt my rage there. Yeah, okay, I'm still gonna have, yeah, see what I mean? It just insta-kills you.
Yeah, that was, that section right there looks extremely busy, and I was shocked you saved yourself with the rage jump in the first place.
Yeah. If you do it right, there's like a way that the cycles line up consistently. Yeah, like that. That's the jump I was looking for there. Then we wait. Then what I can do is I can rage jump in order to skip all that nonsense down below. That's what you want to do there.
That was big nonsense.
Yeah. The worst part, too, is if you run 100%, you have to do soul jars, where there's, I believe, one of them on that path, and then you have to do that path backwards. And then you also have to do that part again when you do the 100 shards. And if you die while you're doing either 100 shards or soul jars, you have to start the entire segment over. So imagine having to do left path, right path, and middle path all in one continuous deathless segment twice. That's 100% for you. Yeah.
Like having to collect all of all shards. It sounds like the music notes in Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting them too. The nice thing though is every time you die, it reloads that extra life and it's really consistent to grab. So basically there's like no chance for me to game over, which is really nice, but... right, so second time through here, middle path is deathless, which is pretty good. Boom. Yeah. So like I died there on both middle path segments of my PB, and like even with the nonsense I had earlier, I still saved 40 seconds across the two of those splits.
Wow.
And then luckily for us, the last heart in the entire game, actually, as opposed to just this level, is way easier. So you just go underneath here. This is going to take us to like the last of the lava world sub areas that we were supposed to have be their own world, I guess. And then we get to do some pretty more standard fare rage jump movement through here. So I need to hit this guy so I can refill my rage, and I'm going to jump on that tiny little thing. And then he's going to let me refill my rage mid-rage jump, which is a fun little strat that I learned how to set up. It's not 100% consistent that he's always right there on your neck. But if he is, it's a nice little time saver. And then we're going to skip all of that nonsense down there by just riding the rail here. And then we'll go ahead and make our way up here. And that's going to be heart number 60 here. So that's going to be all the hearts that we need in order to finish the game. And now we can just make our way into the Dark Yabu fight here. So, all right, this run's been pretty, I mean, other than like, some pretty standard for mistakes, like I'm pretty happy with how this run's been going. So appreciate you all for being here for this. This game like means a lot to me. It's just, this game is so cool. I hope the run up until this point has proven that. But like, yeah, this game is so much fun. You should play it. You don't even have to run it. Just play it. It's fun. Please.
Yeah, like it looks really cool. It definitely looks like it's a product of the era, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It actually looks like a lot of care was put into it, despite like the very clear, oh crap, we have a year left to release the game. We have to make a bunch of these changes, despite all the work being such. So like, it looks like despite like half of the game not being what it wanted to be, like it looks like it holds up well enough, even in 2023, like 20 years later.
Yeah. All right, so this is the Dark Yabu fight. So this is phase 1, which can be skipped by that like hardest trick in the game that nobody goes for because it sucks. But essentially the way this first phase works is we have to kill all these little shadowlings. That was a really good first part. And then we have to dodge all these fireballs. This is the part that you would skip if you managed to land the trick successfully. It saves about 3 minutes or so, which is really brutal considering it's like right at the end of an hour and a half long run, and you only get one shot at it. So that's rad. But with that being said, what I'm doing is I'm making use of my upper attack whenever the shadowlings appear to make use of the iframes that you get whenever the attack begins. Then I'm doing a ground pound slam, and then as I'm approaching the ground, I'm then doing a flip kick to try to catch any of the shadowlings as they jump in. And now in this phase as well, I also have to manage the fireballs that Yabu is spitting at me as well. And then once you kill enough of them in the phase prior, you can then jump on into the next phase then. I also have to really make sure I manage my HP because I want as much HP as possible going into a second phase. Because if you die at any point during this fight, you have to start the whole fight over again.
Sounds about right.
So, yeah, so just kind of concentrating here a little bit. I'm at full HP, so we're doing pretty good here. There's gonna be like another point where you just choke runs because it's all nerves and tension and all that jazz. So I don't know where this last guy went.
Oh, there he is.
There he is. He's been a little angry. So that's going to put us into phase 2 here where he transforms. And so what I have to do is bait out a specific attack, kick him in the face, uppercut him in the gut, and then do a ground slam attack on the crystal on his abdomen here. So what I'm doing here is crouching in the center so he's less likely to jump around. And then I'm reacting to attacks in real time here. And so what we want is not that attack, but that sweep with the hands. Then I can go underneath. And then do that, and we do that 4 more times. And his attacks do more than 1 HP. So it is a very dangerous fight. So I have to be very, very careful here. And it's yeah, it's pretty random what he decides to do. Yeah, so I had to react to that one, and he's probably going to sweep soon. And if you get it good timing, you can actually cancel part of your high jump on the head of the boss there, so that you hit the ground a little bit faster, and you can do your attacks that much quicker. And then every time he goes up, we long jump out of the way so that we don't die, because that attack does like 2 or 3 damage. And then I just gotta rinse and repeat here. So I'm gonna be a little bit quiet here just so I can react.
You are all good. I'm quiet because this is really tense, because I know going through that first phase again would be kind of wretched.
There you go. Oh, I barely got him within the window. Yeah, every phase, the window gets tighter to open him up for attacks, so. 2, 3, 4. In the middle. And then the reason why it's really important to stay in the middle is the more he jumps around, the more likely, when he jumps around like that, he's very likely to do a fireball attack, which takes a fair bit of time. But he's being pretty nice today, which is good. Good. One more phase. And this is also why it's so important to maintain your HP going into this, is because you can sometimes just die in a couple of hits to this fella, and he's just the worst. Gonna jump, probably gonna do fireballs, so he's gonna launch 5 fireballs. 2, 3, 4. And then he almost always follows up with that attack immediately after, and then that's going to give us the sweep, and that should be phase 2.
Let's go.
And then once you get through phase 2, that's kind of like it, where you're like, okay, this is the run, because that's like the last point you can really choke a run here. Yeah, and so now like we have unlocked our final form, I guess. And so we're going to tear through these enemies here. And then the way that this works is it's like the Phantom Ganon fight, where you punch the fireballs back at the towers. And then this is, the last phase here. So time will, not for a little bit, but time will be coming up somewhat soon, because time ends on the last fireball hit. So we've got like another 4 or 5 fireballs to go. And then on final hit, it plays the cutscene that ends the game. So I'm just going to make sure I time these, because if you time them wrong, you hit the fireball, but then it just doesn't get sent forward. And it's just the worst. That was really stressful. Phase 2 is so stressful. I'm so glad to be done with that, but...
I'm glad you're done with it, because that was like... I was holding my breath for most of that phase.
Alright, so it's probably going to be this fireball and one more, so we'll get ready on time. Alright. Okay! Yes!
Oh my goodness. Everyone get your GGs out for Jaxler with Vexx. That was a sick run.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. So final time for that is going to be a 1:32:57, which is really good. That's going to bring us in around 7 minutes under estimate. So I will take it, because as you saw, this game can blow up in your face at the worst possible moment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. That Sorry.
I was gonna say, that was a legit, like, really cool showcase. I was thoroughly engaged. Like, the movement tech in this game is sick. I didn't know it was that sick.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason I run the games I do, is because no one would have heard of Vexx, and that's why I think speedrunning is so thick, is because I think it acts as like a form of archival for some of these games too, right? So like I wouldn't have heard about this game had it not been through Perilous Peanut and through the speedrunning community in general, and I wouldn't have known how to do it without the speedrun community being there. So it's I don't know, I'm just feeling a lot better now that the run is done. I was really worried about this one. So,
like, when I asked you which game did you want to do first, a lot of people tend to opt for like the second or the first shorter run, or the shorter run to be first, and you're like, nah, I want Vexx first.
No,
Get this out of the way.
this game's so hard, and I got to shout out the whole Vexx community, because there are so many people in that scene who have put so much hard work into this game. I want to shout out Lacerda, who I know is probably watching this or said he was going to watch this. I also want to shout out Dell again. He was kind of like a main brain behind a lot of the cool stuff that you saw on this run, and we got the disc could not be read. That's a problem with my disc, so that's hype. I've tried like 3 different ways and it does it on every single one, but hey, it runs the game, so I'm not going to complain. Yeah, shout out.
There's your end credits right there.
Yeah, the GameCube disc could not be read. I want to shout out Dell. He went out of his way to really help me get good at this game, so huge shout outs to him. And he's like a super friendly guy and made a bunch of good resources for understanding how like the movement works and stuff like that. If you want to run this game, come check out the Vexx Discord. It's speedrun.com/VEXX. We have a community Discord there. You don't have to run the game. We have a lot of just people in there that just like the game. I think a couple of former devs are in there too that just talk shop about the game and cool stuff. There's also good speedrun guides in there and people who are more than willing to sit down and help you learn stuff with this game. As well, don't start with any percent. Maybe start with the category that cannot be named on stream. That's like the 20-minute long run. But yeah, I just want to thank Amber for giving me the opportunity to show this game off, because I know it's a hard sell with a hour 40 long run that nobody's ever heard of before. But thank you for taking a chance on me and for giving our community the platform. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. You're passionate about all the games you run. I know that from having you on my previous show, Never Before Seen. And any other game I've seen you run on GDQ, you are extremely passionate. That's what we're here for. And if y'all want to stick around for a little bit longer, we have one more run by Jaxler. Jaxler's going to be showing off the game that was recommended, or was the reason why Vexx was recommended. It's going to be Whiplash, more 2003 edgy platformer era. It's going to be really sick. So stick around. We're going to be right back. Just a final reminder, not final reminder. One more reminder, though, that Juneteenth, if you want more awesome GDQ events during our Hot Fix weeks, our annual event, Juneteenth, celebrating Black independence, is coming up June 17th and 18th. That's this weekend. So join us as we highlight the amazing talents of the Black speedrunning community. The show starts at 1 p.m. Eastern each day. So we'll be right back in just a few minutes with Whiplash. Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 10 of Passion Project, the variety show that encourages everyone in the speedrun community to showcase the projects that they've been working on. My name's Amber Cypher, and I am joined once again by Jaxler as we continue our trip into 2003 edgy platformers. So we just wrapped up a run of Vexx Any Percent, which if you missed it, you better go catch the VOD when this is over. It was sick. Like sick, nasty, all those sort of like words that would be very common around that era. But no, we have actually the game that is the reason for Jaxler getting into Vexx. We have Whiplash coming up. Jaxler, how do you feel about going into this run right after Vexx?
It's a bit different, for sure. There's a lot of movement stuff to this run, but it's a lot more skip heavy than Vexx is. So it's a little bit of an adjustment, but this game, I'm really happy to play this game. It's a lot of fun. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I've never heard of this game prior to you mentioning it to me when I was like, what other games would you like to pair with Vexx? And I looked it up and I was like, oh, cool. This actually looks like it's going to be a great tonal match to Vexx. However, I do know one person who had heard of it and they were like, yeah, isn't that the game with the rabbit? And I was like, you've heard of this?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, this game is made by like Eidos and Crystal Dynamics. So the same team that made Gex Enter the Gecko and Gex 3, this was the game they made afterwards. So it has kind of that like weird sense of humor and just kind of weird nonsense in its DNA. The premise of the game is you play a weasel chained to a rabbit, and you cause massive amounts of property damage by using said rabbit as a whip. Hence the name of the game. And we're going to be skipping a lot of that. This game is actually like legitimately amazing. I would, after you watch the run, I would go play this because this game is legitimately incredible. And I think one of the most underrated gems that I've ever seen. It's really, really good. We're gonna skip most of it. There's like 7 different like wings of the facility that I'll mention, and we're gonna see none of them because this game has very broken skips to it. So we'll go ahead and just there's gonna be a lot of words right at the start. So time begins when we gain control of our characters. So we'll go ahead and get started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And so we are already out of bounds. So I did something there called triple jumps, which is where after you jump a little bit off the ground, you input light attack, heavy attack, and then if you do that close enough to the ground, you can actually get your jump resources back for whatever reason. And so we can use that to do all sorts of ridiculous stuff. I'm also beating up the scientists there because I want what are called hyper snacks. These allow me to upgrade my damage output, and we want to make sure we get at least 6 of them over the course of the first couple of enemies that we see in the run here. So I'm going to go ahead and smack this guy, and he's going to give me... Okay, so we're at 5 already, which is really good luck. We need 1 more from this next scientist, and then we don't have to worry about RNG drops anymore. It can be a little bit uncommon to get drops that good, so it's pretty nice that... but it's really easy to back up. And there they are. Okay, sweet. So we've got our 6. We're going to light our rabbit on fire. That's going to trigger the smoke detector and allow us to open this door. And then we're going to see another example of a triple jump where you see I like kind of shoot the chain forward and then I get like 2 extra jumps. That's what a triple jump looks like. And so I use that there to go through the other side of the glass there that isn't solid, which allows me to skip some of the intended like route through that section right there. And then kind of a theme of this game is that the walls aren't tall enough. So we're just going to go through this one with another triple jump. And then we're going to do what's called a quadruple jump here. Bit trickier. Nice. And so essentially a quadruple jump is the same input as a triple jump, but you squeeze in 2 jumps close enough to the ground. And it gets you a little bit more height, but it's pretty precise. So I do that one there to land on a light fixture that has collision, and then that lets me jump around the wall and avoid having to activate the crusher switch in order to get through that section normally. So there's Gex, by Gex. And so right here, I'm going to do a triple jump onto the security panel and then use these light fixtures to avoid having to break said security panel to solve that puzzle there. Going to quad jump up to here, do a triple jump off the light fixture. That's going to get me out of bounds here, and underneath this floor, there's normally a big platforming segment here where you have to go to the top of the room and hit 4 supports down for a globe-shaped sculpture. And then that eventually breaks open the glass. But by doing that out of bounds, we can go underneath that door and just skip it completely. And so now that we're out of sort of like the intro tutorial sequence of the game, this is where we're going to get introduced to, or probably the best time to talk about how sprinting works. So the sprinting in this game kind of works similar to the way that Dark Souls speedrunners manage it, where you have a sprint meter that once it runs out, you have to wait until it goes back up to full to use it again. So I'm using as much as my sprint meter as I can until it's right about to run out, and then I stop sprinting. So that way it can refill a little bit faster and I can sprint when I want to, as opposed to having to wait for it to refill. And then those enemies can be a little bit obnoxious there, so I got lucky that I was able to not have to jump right there. And then we're going to hit this tripwire on purpose so we don't have to jump over it. And then this will get us into sort of the main hub world of the game. We're going to wait for that autosave and log out, and then hop back into this autosave. So that way we can go ahead and load in some hyper snacks that are just freestanding on the ground that normally are deloaded for whatever reason. I think it's because we skip so much stuff. And so we're going to grab enough hyper snacks here to get us to level 3. And then, level 3. So we're going to do a quad jump off of that light fixture right there. That's going to get Redmond up to 3. Redmond's the name of the rabbit. I believe Spanx is the name of the weasel here.
Yes.
And then I'm going to be doing a jump onto here in order to get up to here. I believe that's the intended way to do it, but I'm not sure I remember because I don't think I ever remembered finding this. And then I'm going to do a sprint into here, and we're going to go grab the helicopter upgrade, or the glide, which basically allows us to swing our chain around like a helicopter and sort of get around, and it's really funny. So we're going to do a really tight triple jump up here in order to get up and off the save point, and then right here there's going to be another wall that's a little too small. And then I'm going to be setting up for hub skip here. This will let us skip a boatload of the game if I get this quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. First try, let's go. That was really clean. If you feel any of that, you fall and you like lose a minute. So
Yeah,
that was really that was actually like really really fast too. Like I have a really optimized like PB for this game. The any percent run is just under 20 minutes long, and I'm within 8 seconds of that. So that's pretty impressive. I'm pretty happy with that. All right, so that skips like 3 major like areas of the game. We're gonna skip the other 4 by doing what's called key card skip here. This one is a little bit tricky. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I didn't quite get it. I'm trying to get up and over this thing in such a way where I slide beneath a seam, and that lets me get out of bounds. That should do it.
There it is.
And so, not out of the woods yet. I got to do a triple jump while out of bounds to get around the lasers that normally prevent you from getting to this point. And then quad jump up to here. Triple jump right here. Hover, that's going to let us get over another wall. And then we can jump back and bounce right here, take the elevator, and we just skipped like 90% of the game. Yeah, so each major wing of the Generon Corporation, like there's a boss with a key card, and once you get all 7, that's what lets you get into sort of the Generon lobby towards the end game. But we just skipped all of that, essentially. So, and we're about, I don't know, like less than 6 minutes into the game. So we're skipping like hours upon hours here. So I actually got to be really careful here because like you just saw, I like die immediately because the game expects us to use the hyper snacks to level up our max HP as well as our damage output. And you basically get 2 hits in general when it comes to enemies over the course of this run. And they're really fast at catching up to you, and they have massive hitboxes, so it's just a nightmare. But what we're going to do here is we're going to do a kind of funky out of bounds. We're going to triple jump onto this thing, and then kind of wiggle to the side, and then I just get to clip through. Yeah, I don't know about that one. That one's funny. It's actually not that. That one's like one of the easier skips to do, too, so it's a lot of fun. And then we're going to grab a couple more hyper snack bags here. We're going to hit this just in case, and then I'm going to get an HP refill just to make sure I'm good. And then you can actually skip hitting that switch, but I'm going to hit it just in case for quote-unquote marathon safety. And then we're managing our sprint meter through the way here. The sprint meter can be pretty tight through here, so you kind of have to manage it pretty well through here. Then I'm going to do kind of this helicopter spin on the ground to get this guy out of my way. And then we're going to get the last 3 hyper snack bag. That gets us to level 4. And then, oh, I hit that first try. That's a really hard quad jump. That's what lets you skip hitting the button to activate those grapple points right there. And so that lets us get up through the lobby and into the ventilation section. And so this part's a little bit more straightforward, but it's still really funny if you've never seen the game before. You just basically, you stick Redbin the Rabbit into a helium machine, fill him up with helium, and then you just helicopter. And it's very funny. So we're going to go ahead and press Y to investigate helium barrel. And now we're off to the races. So, yeah, I guess while we're here now, Amber, impressions, thoughts, anything?
Well, first off, I feel so bad for Redmond.
Yeah.
And
he had it coming.
Like, a lot of people know Crystal Dynamics for Gex. I'd never heard of this game. I know Crystal Dynamics for Blazing Dragons, which is a quirky Sega Saturn and PS1 point-and-click game that has big Monty Python humor, because it's also like written by some of the folks behind Monty Python. So that's where I recognize them that name from. But it's definitely got that kind of like quirky humor.
Yeah.
While still being 2003 edgy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we have to skip all the cutscenes here. Also gonna take a moment here because, hold on a second, I accidentally unplugged my headset. There we go. So, apologies if you heard Amber twice or 3 times normal there, because I accidentally recoiled my head, and I'm really good at unplugging my headset when I do that. We're gonna knock this guy out here so that we can go ahead and make use of the great commands for gamers tweet incoming, use bunny. Where we just throw them into these cogs and gears, and it will open up this hatch in a little bit. And we're going to see that a couple of times. There's actually a bunch of those like all over the course of the game, which is kind of like my one gripe, is there's so many of those in this game, but it's worth it because this game is sick. And so we drop back down here, refill our helium up, and then we're going to fly all the way up to the top of ventilation here. And then once we get like out of ventilation, we're going to do some more skips that are like really difficult. So one of the things that we skipped in as a result of like not playing the majority of the game is an upgrade that allows you to whip onto electrified swings, where if you don't have it, you just take damage or it just outright doesn't work. And we never intend to get that upgrade. So as a result, we have to do a really difficult skip once we get out of ventilation and into the hangar. Because, you know, of course, a company that does testing on animals wants to send the animals into space. We gotta go into their space hangar because, of course. But from here, we can just climb our way all the way up through here. Oh, did I hit the wrong one? Oh, that's a little embarrassing. Yeah. Well, oops. I autopiloted a little bit too hard there, and I forgot that you're supposed to go up go through both hatches. So that's my bad. I was like, why is the vent open?
Why is it so familiar?
It's hard because they look the same, so I like didn't even realize until it was too late. That's my bad. Well, we'll just get to have another ride up through here, and I guess if anybody has any like questions about whatever the heck they're witnessing here, I just bought y'all a little extra time. I don't know. I felt like it, you know, just
there's been
squeezing as much out of this as possible, you know.
Yeah, there's been a couple of people who were like, I remember this game. I don't think anyone else remembers this game. Or someone's like, I remember Vexx, but I have absolutely no memory of this.
Yeah. This one was a little more obscure because it was only released on PS2, Xbox, no GameCube release. So I think because of that, it's a little bit more obscure. But please play this game. It is so good. I was begging you to play Vexx a bit. I'm begging you even harder to play this game. This game is like a 9 out of 10. I'm not even joking. It's so fun. The levels are so fun. It's got like the Metroid Prime like 3D map thing too, which is just super sick.
Ooh.
But yeah, it's like this game is so cool. Why is this game so cool? There's also a great feature as well. You see that like number in dollars, like 5,973,000, whatever. In order to 100% the game, you have to deal enough property damage in order to plummet like them into bankruptcy. That's how you 100% this game. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched.
This game's awesome.
I watched the opening cutscene of this yesterday to make sure that my my thought was like, yeah, this is a platformer, right? I wanted to make sure I wasn't wrong. So I watched the opening cutscene and a bit of the tutorial, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's definitely a platformer, but also it is...
what is this?
Yeah, it's like one of those, what is this? But like the whole reason why y'all are chained together is because they were gonna like, I think they were like in the whole thing of like fusing animals together.
Yeah.
If I recall, and they were gonna fuse these two, and they somehow managed to break out.
Yeah. And so that's actually one of the things. We actually start the run on a pre-made save file that autosaves the moment after that cutscene because it's a 3-minute long unskippable cutscene. It's real big, and so I would say we allowed it, but it was mostly me because I'm like the only other person that runs this game besides someone from like 7 years ago. Okay, so here we're gonna do a skip where I do a triple jump into a checkpoint trigger that lets us sort of fast track further into the area. And I'm gonna do a triple jump around the side here and catch the edge of this device, hopefully. It's pretty tricky. So what this will do is it's a little bit faster, but more importantly, it lets me avoid all the really nasty obstacles in the way, so we can just jump on the sides right here. And then there's a catwalk over there, and then after we hit this platform, we can just triple jump and get our way up through here. So again, basically the way the triple jump works is I'm doing a short hop off the ground and then hitting X, B, A, basically by rolling my thumb over the controller in quick motion in order to do an animation cancel that gives me my double jump back. And that's going to be really important for electricity skip, which is that really difficult skip that I was alluding to earlier. It's actually coming up next. You're going to hear me be quiet and then count some numbers in my head. I'm counting out the number of swings of certain things, like swings on the pulley, as well as swings of the helicopter glide abilities. So I'm going to get over here. Wait. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, X. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. Might be too low. Should work. Nice, got it for try. Okay, that stretch, that is really hard. That is really, really hard. Especially because when I started running this game, there were no resources because the previous any percent world record was like almost a decade old when I finally managed to beat it, which I think is just really dang impressive. That like for a game that no one has ever heard of and only one other person like you're the only person that ran it. That you have a record so good that it took someone a decade to beat it, I think is like just super sick. Shout outs to Ruake, by the way. He's a speedrunner from Great Britain who set that record like almost 10 years ago. And it's still really, really dang impressive. Even though even with the new stuff that I found, it was still a lot of effort to beat. So shout outs to him for laying the groundwork and finding a lot of the cool stuff with this game. So yeah, we've got one more of these Crusher things. There's so many of these Crusher things in this game, it's ridiculous. But after this one, we're basically already at the end of the game, and we're going to go into the final boss. And we have a little bit more shenanigans coming up here in a second. But yeah, these grinder sections are just kind of brutal. They feel longer because this run is so short, and because we don't have any way of skipping these because all the walls are super solid, that it's just like, bruh. You know, it's just like...
Like a game, like if this were in like Vexx, it wouldn't feel nearly as like
atrocious.
Breaking. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna go up into the vent here, and so the final boss against the CEO of Genron, we get to beat up the CEO as the final boss, which I find incredibly funny. We're gonna do a triple jump through the ceiling here that doesn't have collision, and then I have to get enough distance to clear over that wall before the collision gets to me. And so what we've done is we've gotten to basically a later phase of the fight that's normally like gate kept by these big glass walls that break during the other two phases of the final boss fight. And so we are going to release the Council of Monkey. We got to do this twice. I just love saying that line every time I get to this point.
That was a sentence. We've released the Council of Monkey.
Yeah, we have to release the Council of Monkey here because then it activates the cutscene, and that lets us essentially fast track into the third phase of the boss fight here. So we just gotta break the bookcases here. That unleashes the Council of Monkey upon the populace. I just love saying Council of Monkey. I'm sorry. There is something about it where it's like, you know, like so-called free thinkers win Council of Monkey. It's the monkey. It's the funky monkey. We love the monkeys here. And so this is the dreaded third phase of the final boss, which is going to take a while because we are so understated at this point in the game that we do like no damage here. But you're going to see in a moment this guy here. And so the way that this phase of the fight works is that he can only take damage. Oh, and I died immediately. Yeah, so this is what we're working with here. The enemies here just murder you immediately if you give them the chance, and they have a cool ability of their own where they can animation cancel and say, yeah, that hurt me, but I'm also just gonna iframes my way through this. And then hopefully, okay, good, the health bar came back up. Sometimes after you die, the fight soft locks. So what I'm going to do instead of taking damage is we're gonna do the same kind of quad jump here in order to get up and over the glass walls. And then we can double jump over here. And now the CEO can't reach us. So what we can do is we can lure him over to the side of these glass walls and actually lure the skunks into him so that they make him vulnerable. And then we can just wail on him through the safety of the glass wall. Again, we're so understated at this point that we barely do any damage. And then on top of that, we die in 2 hits consistently. And there are some attacks that I think are just an outright insta-kill. But at this point, because I took damage, I basically have no HP to work with here. So essentially what I'm trying to do is move back and forth here. We have a lot of kind of random elements going on here where the monkeys can push the CEO either further from or further towards the wall here. So I'm actually doing specific setups and movements to bait the CEO into moving into different locations here so that he can kind of unstick himself not only from the monkeys, but also kind of from the sides of the walls so that he's more likely to be vulnerable. And the monkeys are really good at stun locking him, but they don't do any damage either, so... And he also just has great voice lines too, which is excellent.
This is absolutely asinine for a final boss. I love it.
Yeah. I hope he says he has a line he says where he's like, "You are so fired."
Good, because we weren't hired.
It's just a complete mockery of like, you know, like corporate, like, you know. I think there was like something to the effect of like PETA officially endorsing this game because it was about animals breaking free from animal testing, which is kind of like the lore of this game, which anything but the suit. And sometimes the skunks like to get stuck, which is really tragic. They're kind of on a cooldown. Yeah, see how that skunk is just kind of moving. Oh no, he decided to drop by. Okay, that's good. But yeah, no, because of the wall as well as because of all the monkeys, what I'm gonna try to do here is you can do like 3 light attacks into a heavy attack and launch him into the air. And sometimes after he does a specific animation, because of that, it can cause him to dislodge all the monkeys and make them like de-aggro, which is something I'm trying to get to set up here. But these monkeys are just... Council of Monkey is angry today. Holy smokes.
Would you say that that they're putting a lot of mustard in there? Maybe a little too much?
Yeah, a little too much mustard on this one. The other thing that's really great is you have to rely on the skunks in order to get into position, and sometimes like their pathing just breaks and they just start moonwalking in place, which means that you're stunning the boss less often. Yeah, these are basically radioactive skunks, and so you basically make them turn on like big head mode, and that's how you make them become vulnerable. So yeah, we're not even halfway done with the boss yet. It's a little brutal, but that's part of the reason why I really want to start working on another category for this game called all keycards, which is where you don't do the keycard skip and you just beat all the bosses from like the major wins of the game. Because you get like freebie hyper snacks from those, and that gets you to probably around level 11 to 15 or so on damage output, which would make this fight go way, way faster. So I need him to... Oh my goodness, Council of Monkey is popping off right now. Holy smokes. Just gonna go ahead and take the heal for safety because I know I'm not gonna be messing with those goofballs for a little bit. Holy smokes, this is abysmally bad, but this is part of the reason why, even though like the run is under 20 minutes, why the estimate is so high, is sometimes you just get owned by the CEO.
I shouldn't be this amused by the monkeys. But here we are.
Help! Anything but the suit. Yeah, so right there what I did is I did the 3-hit combo and a slam, and you see how that cleared all the monkeys off of him? That's what I was kind of going for there. And then the skunk is big chillin', poking his head through the wall. It should be mentioned as well that a lot of the pathing breaks here because these walls are not supposed to be here during this phase, but because we didn't do things properly, I think they're supposed to disappear during phase 2, if I remember correctly, and because like they get blown up by like his desk like turns into like a mecha, essentially. It's kind of ridiculous. Yeah, this game's awesome. Yeah, so I'm going to do that 3-hit combo with the heavy attack again and clear him off. And then this should hopefully, yeah, that skunk's going to come in there. Ideally what you want is the skunks to be kind of offset so that like they don't accidentally like spray on the boss while he's still stunned, because then you kind of lose extra stun time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Yeah, so I had to move him there real quick, for example, because you saw the skunk kind of got stuck there. That's one example where you have to manipulate kind of everything going on here, because the skunk will path towards the boss, not towards you. And so you kind of have to learn how to move the boss around in order to get him, get this fight to behave properly. But even then, like you can lose minutes off this section here. But, you know, that's just kind of how it goes. That's why I think kind of like the future of this game, like any percent is really fun and it's really hype because the skips are awesome. But I think like all key cards is really what is going to get a lot of optimization in the future. And if anyone wants to pick up this game, I think that's where it's probably best to start as well. I think that's where most of the fun will be, because like this run is like a 10 out of 10 up until you get to those spots.
Oh yeah,
which is a little unfortunate, but I don't know. I just love this game and it's a fun short little run. So. Time will be coming up soon. We're getting down toward the end of the HP bar there. Time is on final hit. And then I'm going to ask for quiet for a second because the CEO will spout a great line at the start of the final cutscene. Fine. Look at the epic cutscene here. Here's the line.
Did you know that weasels and rabbits are natural enemies in the wild? I'm fired.
I'm fired. It's such a good line. Well, there you have it, everybody. That was Vexx. I'm sorry I got rolled so hard by the CEO there. Usually it doesn't go that bad, but sometimes life comes at you fast. But now the Council of Monkey is going to go escape into space with all the others. There's a lot of lore that we skipped here, but yeah, I hope you all enjoyed that. This run is really cool. Again, please play this game. It is such an amazing game. It's really funny. Gameplay is amazing, and it's not that hard to find a copy of it. So go for it. Yeah, and shout outs to Amber for letting me squeeze in this one on the back end of Vexx as well. This game's really cool. If you want to run this game was actually on Church and Charge's show, How to Train a Speedrunner. I did a full tutorial live of the any percent category that I just showed you. So if you want to give it a try, feel free. That should be on GDQ's YouTube channel, which you should go and subscribe to, by the way, so that you catch all of these cool hotfix shows. Yeah, I want to shout out the whole GQ/hotfix team for. I've had the privilege to get to do a lot of these, so I'm always grateful every time, and that I haven't annoyed anyone too much to not be able to come back. So really appreciate being able to give some of these lesser-known games a platform. So super appreciate it, and thank you all who's watching at home as well. I super appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for offering to do these runs. These have been really, really fun. It's always a good time to have you here, and I promise you're not annoying, folks. You are fantastic and very entertaining. If y'all didn't go see the Neopets run from SGDQ that Jaxler did, go watch that, because all of our SGDQ 2023 VODs are on YouTube now. The Neopets run, I've seen Jaxler do it. It's fantastic. Go check it out. It's you could, after watching Neopets and then you go back and look at this, it's like, yeah, that's a Jaxler game. But no, thank you again for being here, and reminder to everyone, if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to press the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel as well, and go to twitch.tv/GamesDoneQuick if you're interested in looking at our live content, starting weeknights at 7 p.m. Eastern and weekends at 1 p.m. Eastern. That being said, Passion Project is going to be returning in 2 weeks on June 28th, while Mercy Kill will be returning at its normal time in 4 weeks on July 12th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Actually, my next show is starting at 7 p.m. Eastern on the 28th. Come join me. I'm going to be joined by the wonderful Argic doing what we call the Sonic 8, where it is the classic Sonic, the 8 classic Sonic games on the Genesis/Sega CD plus Mania, back to back to back to back to back. It's a really sick run. We're going to be joined by HUD601 for commentary, and it is a really good time, you know, just kind of spend an evening, trust me. So if you want to see Sonics 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles, 3D Blast, Spinball, CD, and Mania, all done in one shot, come join me on the 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern. But tomorrow, if you tune in tomorrow, you will have the first step, followed by by Think Fast, all starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. So tune in tomorrow, too. Until then, though, please go look after yourselves and your loved ones. Drink some water, stretch your legs, eat a snack, take your medicine or vitamins if you need to, and remember that you are valid and deserve all the best. Send all of this wonderful positive energy over to our raid target tonight, and have a great night. Bye.